Okay, so we're live. So welcome to another Run Wild with Us. Ask Us Anything. I'm Lisa Kastner. I am the founder and executive editor of Running Wild and Rise Presses. And I am here with you every Thursday between 5 and 6 p.m. Pacific time, 8 and 9 p.m. Eastern time, along with some of our other amazing editors, such as the well-known, infamous Ben.
Hey, I'm right on time today.
Yeah, you're kind of amazing, dude. Well done.
I was over an email watching 16 contracts come through.
Oh, honey, I just started. It's funny the way. So for those who don't know what we're talking about, Ben just approved 40 short stories for our 2025 short story anthology, and I'm going through. What we usually do is, or what we always do is, we send the contract template that we use for the different types of contracts, whether it's a novella or a short story or a novel or a memoir or whatever. And I'll send it out so folks have a chance to look over it, make sure they're comfortable with it. And then once we have agreement, then I send it out for signature. But what's interesting about Submittable is like I can't tell, Ben, when you message me in Submittable, I can't tell it's you. It looks like it's coming from the author. So I didn't realize the notes that were to me from you saying, "Hey, they're ready for a contract," was from you. I was like, "Okay, I'm not sure who this is from." So I had to go in, look at it, and then I'm like, "Oops." So that's why I'm doing like this mad dash to get everybody a contract. So sorry about that.
Oh, no, you're right on time. You're right on time. They just went out this week, so they're expecting them. And,
Oh, good.
and I got a reply back from them telling us the story was still available. And then that's why I let you know that they're waiting for a contract from you.
Oh, okay, cool, perfect. Yeah.
And then when they sign the contract and you get it back, you'll mark it in submittable contract signed, and I'll start editing.
That's right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely perfect. That's exactly what happens. So I think Caroline
It's just like we planned it.
It's exactly like we planned it. It's like we've done this a couple times. Who knew? Hey, Peter. How you doing, young man?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Good. I'm lean back to be as tall.
You're what?
What's the topic of discussion? You're cracking up.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you look far larger than you did last time. Last time you were like, there, that's better.
I'll lean back.
We were just talking about how Peter just accepted 40 short stories for the next short story anthology.
Only 26.
Oh, I'm sorry. How many?
26.
26?
Yeah, but there's room for maybe 4 more now. So 30. Say 30.
All right, so 30. And
awesome.
I'm going through and sending them sample contracts like we always do. So I know it's so exciting. Nope. Not unless you're one of the people getting that contract. So hi, Caroline. Good to see you. Hey, Margaret. Good to see you too. So how's your week been, gentlemen?
Mine's been kind of slow. It's been good. Sorry, I'm having computer issues again, as usual.
Wow.
But things are good. I just started working on my next project, and it's going to be interesting because he is all over the place with the story he's telling. So you have to do a little bit of reining in. I mean, his writing is really interesting. He's missing a couple of the key points, like place and where we are, kind of thing. But I'm really excited to see what he does with the story. So there's that. I'm still waiting on hear back from my first author. So things are going.
Cool. Actually, that's a really good point. Like I have a mentee through the Horror Writers Association that I went through a short story of hers the other day.
Mm-hmm.
And
What are you untangling?
Oh, it's so people can see me. I just realized I'm kind of dark even though I've got a camera on, but it's not. Yeah, I seem to be getting darker, but it must be because, well, it's only 5 o'clock. I shouldn't affect things that much, but anyway, yeah, that's all. I'm just entangling the cord so I can plug in the lamp. But
Back to
anyway,
your mentee. I didn't mean to interrupt.
huh? Oh no, I just thought that was hilarious. You're like, what are you untangling? It's like I can hear you talking to your kids.
Oh.
That better. Now I'm blind. Okay, so it's funny because what she did is she took a short story she had written like for fun, and she's repurposing it for a call, like a journals call, right?
Oh, okay.
And but it's similar to what you're describing. It's not totally all over the place, but she has portions in the short story that have nothing to do with the overall storyline.
Yeah.
So I had to ask her, like, okay, so why is this? What does this have to do with the primary plot? Because especially for a short story that has to be under 5,000 words, you're not going to have multiple storylines. Like, it's very difficult to fit that in effectively, you know. And so we kind of walked through that. So and I totally feel you when an author does that, where they're kind of going everywhere, and then you're like, but why are we introducing this? And what is this? It's usually some kind of leftover from something that they wanted to do, and then they just never really saw it through, you know.
There's also what I call the beginning bluster, whereas I just made that up, but
it's good. It works.
It's when you're trying so hard, and I'm a victim of it as well, or a perpetrator of it, is when you're trying so hard to make a good impression, make a good hook, that you forget that you're not hitting the story's pace. So after a few pages, once you settle down, once you get back into the story, that's when the thing really starts humming. So I'm looking forward for that point right now.
Oh yeah, no, that's a great point. And a lot of times, if someone's especially someone who writes as a pantser, right? Like they don't outline in the storyline out. The first 10, anywhere from 10 to like, I've seen as much as 50 pages. It's really just backstory, right? It's just them. It's them getting, and I'm guilty of this too. So, it's getting familiar with the storyline and the characters and understanding why they're doing what they're doing. And then all of a sudden, it's almost like you can hear the click on the page, right? When all of a sudden it's like, oh, that's why we're here. Okay, let's do it. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
Totally. And your your Curtis reached out to me. So he's got a review coming out for Indie Reviews, which is awesome.
Cool.
And his book, The Lost and the Blind, and a couple of other of our books were all selected for BookBub partnerships. So for those who may not be familiar, BookBub is this huge program that you can submit either a new story or a pre-existing story in ebook form to have a deal. So we had submitted all the books that we have coming up in the next couple of months, and we actually had 4 or 5 of the books selected. So the first week that they are going to be out, they'll all be they'll all be available for 99 cents in ebook. So that's pretty cool. It's very cool.
Very cool. And that's an ebook, not an audiobook, right?
Correct. Ebook, not audiobook. And if I remember correctly, all on Amazon. So, and I think it might only be for North America too. So
300 million people.
Tejas says, are you planning to watch Oppenheimer or Barbie? I was actually invited to a Barbie viewing party where we all have the option to dress up in the Barbie theme, I guess you could say. So, of course, I said yes. Like, so I already have a couple of pink outfits selected to wear. I will not be dyeing my hair blonde. That will not occur, but I will definitely do the, pink theme, Barbie theme thing. So,
cool.
Yeah. How about you guys? Are you going to go check out Oppenheimer or Barbie or both?
Well, Ben, what do you think?
I'll probably see Oppenheimer sooner or later, but ever since the Christmas of 1990, when I had to put together a Barbie van for one of my nieces, I don't do Barbie. Yeah, you wouldn't believe the pieces that go into the Barbie van. You think Legos are bad? No.
No?
I'm on the Barbie strike. It's been 40 years now, but it's still intact.
Oh my goodness. How about you, Peter?
It was the Barbie RV.
Oh, funny, there were pictures.
I know, right? That would have been perfect.
Yep. I think we're gonna skip the Barbie train this time and next time around. But the Oppenheimer sounds really fascinating, and of course, Indiana Jones. I want to go check out before it leaves the theaters.
Well, I've heard the Indiana Jones it's cute. It's not great, but it's cute. So it's a nice tie-in, you know?
Okay.
I do want to see that too. I should just do like a movie day, you know, and like just knock out everything. But
well, you go into one of those big theaters, you know, start in the morning, you just watch movie after movie after movie. And you're
totally. Yeah, exactly.
You've never seen the sun.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. Considering I'm a natural redhead, I don't need to see the sun. The sun and I are not necessarily friends. So Margaret says, I read today that Random Penguin dissolved their imprint of Inkyard Press and fired their editors. Yeah, and I saw that IPG dissolved a division and they fired, I think, 7 people. Oh. And a bunch of the big houses have made announcements about like they're basically all coming in at a loss. So they're all doing restructuring and having layoffs. So yeah. Unfortunate.
Yeah, but Margaret, don't give Lisa any ideas.
Oh, please. Well, it was funny what one of the articles I read said that all those like consumer spend has increased since COVID. It seems as though what they're really focusing on are like going out to eat and like going to movies, like doing things that are a little more interactive versus buying products. So they're just waiting for that pickup to occur. Caroline says, not the first time for Random House, Margaret. I rewrote parts of a novel for the main editor, and then she and her assistant were laid off, and I lost the deal. Yeah, it's not. Unfortunately, especially in the entertainment industry, it's really not uncommon for them to restructure and then bring in new people and then restructure again, like when the numbers don't hit what they anticipate. So, yeah, it's not uncommon at all. But so Ben, how's your week been? What's new and exciting in Ben world?
I was going to make it a trifecta with the editing of Everywhere, a story that's everywhere. Because it's not necessarily backstory that she started with. It's more of a piece that should have happened later in the story. She took away a lot of tension by showing what was going to happen, and then went back to pick up the relationship between the two. So we're negotiating, moving it around a little bit with the structure. But it's an interesting story. It's wretched, and it's a series of or a history of a family, I guess you would say, and the women in the family, and it has a pregnant mother talking to her unborn daughter at the beginning to say, this is what I'm telling you about what to expect. We're wretched.
Oh, yeah. Wow, that really.
And then sharing some of the history, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a great selection. It was just I got to page 100, and the author had made notes to herself, and they weren't edited out. So I wasn't sure what to do. So instead, usually I wait till I get halfway through and then send it back. But in this case, with some of the structure changes and some of the questions I had, I went ahead and sent it to her. So she's working on it, and we're starting our collaboration earlier than I usually do. But that's okay. It'll polish up nicely, I think.
Oh yeah, awesome! Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
First story to 100 pages.
What's that?
Did you say?
Oh no, it's a novel. It's a novel, so it's actually what's showing is 100,000 words, but I think some of that is some of her redundant edits and ideas. So it's coming in at 500 pages, and so I'm 20%. I'm calling it victory.
Yeah.
But I think as I progress through, like I said, I usually read it and just make the line edits as I go. But there were some structural issues here, so I've got her involved earlier than usual.
That makes sense.
Yeah, but it is like you all are saying. It's back and forth and a little confusing to the reader at times. In this case, the reader is me.
Well, one of the novels that I've been working on, we're now doing the second round of edits, which is really usually just like a polish up, and it was one of the ones that the last time we spoke, I around page 15, I went, I think this actually really starts here, and thankfully she agreed, because before the pace was like really kind of all over, because you were like, I'm not sure what's going on, like to kind of what Peter's describing. And then all of a sudden, page 15, it was like, boom, okay, all right, we're here. Sweet. Now I understand what the story's about and who the main characters are and what's going on. Yay. So yeah, we're polishing that up. And then the one that I described as like a 68-year-old Tom Clancy novel, that one, that's the next one I have to do a polish up on. So
that's a good feeling to hit as an editor, because you don't want to make edit or line changes or any suggestions until you get to that point where you get a feel for what where the author is going and what the author is doing. So and once you do that, you say, okay, now we can work together because I get you. I know what you're doing. That's a great place to be.
Yeah, just learning how their writing style is and how their voice is, because at first it's like he's throwing a bunch of stuff at me, like paired words, paired adjectives they fit together weird, kind of like poetically, but I'm trying to see how he does it because it's starting to become a pattern. So the books, it's like, okay, hands off for a little while. That's cool. Let's just ride along for a little bit and just get a hand on the language and on his style and technique kind of thing. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And sometimes, I mean, this isn't frequent, but every once in a while, when it's one of those, when it's a novel that it's like, wow, the writing style is amazing, but I'm not quite sure where we're going. Once you'll get to a certain point and realize, okay, we started off with this was the primary character, and now we're here, and oh no, really, it's this other character, and then it's kind of like pointing out to the author, kind of like what Ben's doing, like, okay, I think if we did this instead, right, and made it clear, then this will actually really drive the story really well. And luckily, I'd say 99% of the time when we go back to the authors and point out like, hey, this might be a really great approach, they're typically very, very open to the suggestions. I think we've only had a couple of times when the author wasn't, and usually we don't actually have a contract with them. We've gone to them proactively and said, what do you think about X? And so we get the screw you early on, which is great. I'd rather be told to F off sooner rather than later, because I think it's been like twice we've gone through months and months and months of editing, and the author, at the end said, screw you, I'm going to self-publish, or screw you, I'm going to do whatever. And it was like, okay, I have no idea how we got to this point, but okay, if that's what you want, it's all good. So
Ben was involved.
Yeah, well, Ben's always involved. So for anyone who's like watching and you don't know who the hell we are, and you're like, why should I even care about these people? So I'm Lisa Kastner. I'm the founder and executive editor of Running Wild and Rise, and I'm here with Ben and Peter, who are two of our fantastic acquisition editors. And we are here with you on Thursdays between 5 and 6 p.m. Pacific time, 8 and 9 p.m. Eastern time, to answer whatever questions that you may have. And you can ask us whatever the hell you want. Like, we're pretty open. Unless it's something completely retarded, then I'm just going to ignore you. But otherwise, we will answer your questions. And if you are watching this and you're like, wait, hold up, it's not Thursday. So this is all a recording. Yes, you are right. It is a complete recording. That does not mean that you can't ask us whatever you want. All you have to do is just pop your questions into the comments section, and then we review it during the course of the week, and we'll answer. Again, unless it's something completely retarded, we will answer the question the subsequent week. So I just wanted to toss that out there. And I have actually a question for Ben and Peter. So guys, why do you do it? Right? Like, being an editor is a crap ton of work, and you're both authors as well, and you both write fantastically, which is part of the reason you're here, because for those who don't know, Ben and Peter had both submitted to Running Wild a long time ago, and we published some of their work. And I had approached them because, based on my interactions with them during the editing process, I was like, you know what? They may actually be really, really good editors. And for some unknown foreign reason, they both agreed and have been here. My God, what has it been, like 5 years now? Something like that.
Getting there. Yeah. Wow.
So why do you do it? Because you could be doing anything. Like right now, you could be in Tijuana. Like, I don't know.
Well, I do it to stay sharp, and to keep my eyes open to see what other styles are, what other techniques are, how other writers are approaching things, because you get some experimental stuff in the mainstream publishing world, but you get a lot of interesting stuff in the indie world too. So the manuscripts that come across our desk just could be anywhere from, experimental to whatever. So you get to see what other styles are without it being channeled through the mainstream, like the Penguins and the Random Houses and whatnot. So I like to see what's coming up, and it keeps me sharp.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, I do it for the 50 cents an hour.
He's not totally joking, by the way.
That's twice as much as I'm worth.
No. Now, mind you, my personal goal is that we will be able to pay everyone like pro rates, but right now we're not able to do so. But anyway, go ahead, Ben.
Yeah. No, I think it's like Peter's saying, it's the involvement with other writers and seeing their work and seeing their ideas and helping them from the reader's point of view. And I edit from a reader's point of view, and if it strengthens up the story or the novel, then that's my small contribution to the publishing world, and that's good. And the conversations that I think we all have with authors are very rewarding, and they're eye opening. And even the question coming up here about villains, I think that's you have those conversations with the authors as you edit, and is it ringing true? And from a writer's point of view, you see what does ring true and what doesn't, and what needs to be polished for your own efforts and your own creativity. But hanging out with other creatives is always fun.
I like seeing something that I helped work on make it even better. So pick something that's really good to begin with and just polish it to a point where it's just like you can't put it down kind of status. That's a real joy of mine. My treasure.
Cool. Very cool. So Teha asks, since people are easily offended these days, does it make you worry about writing villains?
Oh, it makes writing villains so much more fun. There's so many buttons to press now.
Yeah,
Easy.
I could see that. I mean, I honestly, if I remember correctly, we've had acquisition meetings where someone wrote characters that were really kind of on the fringe, I guess you could say. And we had very active conversations around, is this something that we want to publish? Not so much from an offensive, like, is this going to offend people, but from a, you know, so much that we ingest for entertainment, it actually influences us, whether it be consciously or subconsciously. And so, you know, we try to be cognizant of how it can impact the reader, right? So like I think one story it included it was about child abuse, and the person got pretty graphic, and we opted not to. Well, A, there didn't seem to be a real storyline, and B, they, you know, as a group, we decided that, you know, that was not something that we thought was A, appropriate, and B, that we really wanted to put on the page, you know. That said, like, I'm finishing up editing a novel that I think is amazing, right? And you know, broad stroke, it's about a haunted house, but it includes child abuse, it includes spousal abuse, it has a lot of violence in it, but the way it's done is it's done artistically. So it's not something where I would be concerned at the graphic nature of it from that perspective. I mean, it's definitely a horror story, but not where it's almost like an advertisement for that type of behavior. That said, I already talked to the author, and we're going to make sure that there is a trigger warning in the beginning, so that if individuals have experienced similar or those types of abuses, then they'll know that they may want to skip it. So, yeah. And I hope I just answered your question. I feel like I may have just gone on a diatribe, but.
But I think the trigger warning is a good idea to, if they are easily offended, recognize that in yourself, and you may be in the wrong book. Mm-hmm. And it's but if it's done creatively and sometimes less is more, and leave it to the imagination of the reader, and then it won't be as offensive, or if it's offensive, it's you doing it, not me. You're offending yourself, but based on your own experience, which is a good way to reach a reader. Have their own experiences kick in without telling them, hey, this is your experience kicking in.
Right. Yeah, that's really in the eye of the reader, because how you take something is really an amalgamation of everything you've grown to experience up until this point. And if you're looking to get triggered, you're going to find something that'll do it for you. I mean, that's just part of the course. Mm-hmm. And I heard a story where a student actually wrote a story with a rape scene in it that was so not violent, but so true to form, so real. Even though it was fiction, it was so real that it completely split the school in half. Like half half the teachers are like, she's gonna write that. That's art. That's what it's supposed to be. And the other half say she shouldn't write that. That's bad. That isn't worth reading. That isn't worth literature. So half the teachers quit, just going because of this one story. Now that's art that makes a difference, because then you see what's going on with what and with who. But it's really in the eye of the reader, depending on how they're going to judge it, how they're going to accept it. And the closer it hits the home, the more you're going to be affected by it, I think.
Well, and that's a great point, because I mean, that's also one of the reasons why you want to have those kinds of images, that type of exchange, that kind of violence in writing, because, you know, I personally don't believe that when someone has harmed another in that way, that they actually understand the harm they've done, right? They're working off of something else, right? Their own inner drive. And I think a lot of times, until they get to experience that kind of pain through the eyes of someone who has actually experienced it, they can't understand. And I have heard stories of individuals who did have that kind of experience, where they were exposed to that kind of violence, and it did make a difference, you know. So whether it be they stopped behaving in that capacity, or they sought therapy, or whatever it was. So I think really the fact that we have the opportunity, I mean, I'll be honest, I mean, that's why we have Running Wild and Rise, right? Is we exist because we want to change the world through story. And, you know, that can mean a million different things in reality, right? But it's really putting things on the page that when the reader reads it, you know, even if subconsciously they suddenly realize, like, oh my God, I've just been exposed to what it's like to be treated unfairly because I'm, you know, I'm from the wrong, air quotes, religion, or the wrong ethnicity, or the wrong background, right? Whatever it is. Or it could just be enabling others to experience what it's like to live during a time period that you would have there's no way that you could have lived in that time period, right? But then to have a greater understanding of, so what did that mean for us now? Like, what does that mean for you? You know, I mean, that's the whole point of us existing. So that said, not everything that we publish is boring and like super violent, and it's we want to publish fantastic stories. You know, that's why we're here. So
there's a poem by Carolyn Forche called "The Colonel," and she was interviewing a South American military colonel, and during the interview, he pulled out a bag and dumped a bunch of human ears on the table.
Oh my God!
And she compared them to dried peach halves in the poem, and it was very upsetting to a lot of people. But it was because it was so real, and they said, "Well, there's no way this really happened," and yes, there is a way it really happened. And but I think sometimes you just have to be honest. You don't have to be even necessarily graphic, but honest. And if the ears look like dried peach halves, they look like dried peach halves. And that's a great way of looking at it and trying to deal with it. It's because that's a different subconscious level of dealing with what she was seeing on the table. Let's call these dried peach halves, please. And so it was a very powerful point. It's called "The Colonel." If anybody wants to look that up.
I think, I mean, as artists, we are kind of not charged with, but we paint a reflection of society. You know, we paint a reflection of our times, because the stories that were written 200 years ago have some say about what's going on today, but the stories of today will reflect the future, what this age was like. Boy, are they going to be interesting stories.
Oh yeah, that'll be a whole nother. Well, and that's the other thing too, is so much of stories out in the world today are, because it's told in retrospect, it's told with a bias, right? I mean, just naturally speaking. So, you know, you could have the exact same thing occur, you know, but told by multiple people who, Peter, I think to your earlier point, they've all had different experiences, you know, they have different influences. And because of that, what they bring forward in that story is might be completely different than the other guy. And but we need to hear those voices, right? Because it provides us as the reader a view into a different perspective that there's no way we could ever have had without all those different voices coming forward.
Exactly. Yeah.
Caroline says, love that you can edit Ben, Peter, and Lisa, and you're good. I couldn't. Don't have that skill. I love that you mentioned, Ben, the contact it gives you with other creative people. I'm envious of that. Great. I'll be honest. My biggest hesitation with even starting these houses was that I did not feel as though I was a good enough editor to do so. And it took me a couple of years to own the idea of being an editor. So it's not, I don't know that I'm not going to say it comes naturally, but I would definitely say it's something that you kind of after a while, and you learn as much from other writers and other editors as you do from, you know, any book that you read. So
it's a multi-dimensional relationship for sure. You've got a relationship with the book, you got a relationship with the author, then you got writing the book, and then you got a relationship with the author who wrote the book, and they all come together in the end with hopefully a polished product. Everybody's satisfied.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Margaret says, American Psycho by Bret Easton Ellis was shocking with rape and child killing scenes. That is true. It was. And honestly, a lot of the more infamous like thriller and horror movies and TV shows, if you actually go back and read the books themselves, you're gonna have a lot more nightmares than you would from the movie or TV show. So
yeah, I read Amityville Horror in the 8th grade. Boy, that terrified me.
Really?
I would have much rather seen the movie. Yeah, that book was scary. But as far as editing goes, it's just something that. What's that?
I'm not going to see Barbie for the same reason.
I knew you were gonna go there, man. I'll be honest. At first, I was like, I am not a Barbie girl. Like, I own that 100%. Like, I was not, you know, I did go through my Barbie phase, but it was because the local toy store had Barbie dolls on like clearance all the time. And I could actually, like, I would take my like $5, well, whatever money I earned on my paper route or whatever little job I had. And it was like, oh, I could actually get a Barbie doll, because there was a time I couldn't get a Barbie doll, right? But I am not a Barbie girl, but I like dressing up, so I'm down with that. And from what I hear, it's a very feminist film, and so I'm good with that too. But I understand Ben's PTSD for.
You forget the RV and see what it does to you. Peter, I cut you off. Continue about the horror. Please.
That's as far as I want to go.
That's just, you're like, I'm done. I was taken out by Barbie.
I just keep thinking of all the pink scars Ben's gonna have put over it.
Brittany says, good evening, just joining. Hey, Brittany, awesome to see you. Margaret says, Ben, you are personally invited to my Barbie theme party. Woo! Yeah, you'll bring your niece's little Barbie van.
Yeah, the thing was this big.
Oh, excuse me.
1,000 parts.
Brittany says, I must confess, I loved Barbie. And I think some of my first stories were played out in the dream house. Oh, I could totally see that. Yeah, I could totally see that. Although, wasn't Barbie in terms of scale a lot bigger than the dream house? Like it wasn't, the dream house wasn't to scale. I don't know. I don't remember. I'm
And
old.
here I'm going, Ben, was it?
Ben?
Ben's the expert.
Yeah. It had to be smaller, or G.I. Joe would have moved in.
Well, that's true. Although were you guys ever into G.I. Joe?
Oh yeah, the original.
They were.
That's how old I am. I had an original G.I. Joe. So take that, Barbie.
But there was like, I remember there was I think it was like a cartoon or something that ripped off Barbie and G.I. Joe, and they had G.I. Joe hook up with Barbie and like kick out Ben. Do you remember that? That was a long time ago. Or maybe I just dreamed it.
You're spending way too much time in the dream house.
Clearly, I was spending too much time in the dream house. Oh my God, that's awesome. So for those of you who either you just joined or you have no idea why we're here, first of all, holy crap, it's already a little after 5:40. You've got us for another a little under a half hour. Oh no, a little under 20 minutes, excuse me. And we are the editors for Running Wild and Rise Presses. We're primarily the acquisition editors, although we do a ton of other stuff. And we are here to answer any questions that you may have. Now, if you don't know what the hell a Running Wild or Rise Press is, you can always just go to runningwildpublishing.com and you'll get a debrief on Running Wild, Rise, some of our titles. We have been blessed in that we've had several titles named Best of the Year. We've had lots of starred reviews, and we've got to work with some absolutely amazing authors. So definitely go check it out. And then if you have questions for us after you do so, then go ahead and feel free to toss your questions into the comments section of whatever venue or forum you are watching this. And we will be more than happy to answer your questions. Now, if you're watching now and you're like, wait, does that mean I have to wait and go through that damn website before I can ask a question? Nope, that's not what it means. You can ask us a question now. It's all good. We're all incredibly vocal and nosy. So we're happy to have an exchange with you right now if you so choose. So cool. Awesome. Is there any other movies, guys, that you're possibly looking forward to, or any books?
You got this.
Uh-oh.
This. Where's it go? Ooh, there it goes.
Oh, cool.
That is. Whoa. Maintenance 17.
Mm.
Okay. Page 123. That's the only page you need to look at.
I don't. It can't be because someone named Ben is published in it.
Oh, well, it might be.
Bookmark.
Right. Oh, there it is.
Bookmark, dog-eared, yeah.
Bookmark.
All right.
Confetti came out when I opened it. Hey, but at least I got something else here too. We need to talk about in the next 16 minutes.
I think you need to.
No, you need to.
Oh, I need to.
I'm just going to show you that Coyote is almost ready to get typed up and submitted to the World of Cure.
Woo! I can't
11
wait.
days to go. I'm way ahead.
All right.
And thank you for reminding me. So for those of you who don't know what we're talking about yet again, because we're really good at doing that, we have we have a short story anthology that is based on the world of Cure by Kali Metis, Kalimetis, who's really me. And all you got to do is you have to submit your short story. It has to be under 15,000 words. before July 31st. And I promise you'll have a lot of fun doing it. So far we've gotten a decent number of submissions, and we want yours. So if you are curious or you're interested, I am popping the link to the submission page. It'll give you some background on the actual on the anthology and all that. So definitely check it out. Oh, I know. Oh boy, did I just screw up? Damn it. Sorry. I accidentally closed the page. I didn't mean to. What's interesting, I wanted to bring up, I think when Peter was talking about early on what it's like to one of the benefits of being an editor and like an acquisition editor for an independent or a small press versus the larger houses and the wide variety of stories that you get to publish. It's actually really interesting too, the influence that we can have on publishing in general. So I know, the first couple of years that we had Running Wild, we pretty much just published a short story anthology, a novella anthology. And I was told by the world over, like, I don't know why you're doing anthologies, especially novella anthologies. Nobody publishes novella anthologies. It is not a thing. No one wants to read them, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, I love novellas because I travel a lot and I can knock out a novella on like a train ride or on a plane ride or right before I go to bed. And, a really well-written novella is just as, if not more fulfilling than some novels. Right. So I was like, I don't care. It's a form that I love and I really wish others would publish it. Well, someone pointed out to me that now a lot of the houses are publishing novella anthologies. It's now trendy to do so. And the same thing with short story anthologies. For a long time, people were avoiding short story anthologies for similar reasons because they just didn't sell, right? And, again, I was like, I don't care. I want to publish, I want to publish great stories. And I don't want to exclude short stories just because someone said, they're not popular. And now you'll find tons of short story anthologies available, and a lot of like Kickstarter programs by like mid and small presses to financially back those anthologies so that they can actually afford to bring in bigger named authors so they can pay the rates that the bigger named authors get. And so that alone, right, we inadvertently had that kind of influence on the broader publishing world, which is great. So Brittany says, hey, Ben, just want to make sure you received my response to please go ahead and send the contracts my way for those short stories you accepted. So, hey, Brittany, that's totally my bad. I'm the one who owes you a contract. I am sending them out tonight, and I apologize for the delay. But I am actually, when I was referencing like, oops, I screwed up. I closed a window I didn't mean to. It's the window that I had open in Submittable where I'm sending everybody out a sample contract so that you guys can review it. And then once you sign off on it, I'll send it out for signature. So, oh, you know what?
On time.
Yeah, sure. It's right on time. Yeah. Ben, do you want to explain again your process or our process for getting those anthologies, at least minimally, signed off on and into the editor's hands?
Yeah. The process is from June 1st, 2022 to May 31st, 2023. That was the pool of stories I looked at that year. And so I started in June. It's still June, isn't it? But
I wish.
To go through, there were about 110 stories in that year. So I went through and screened them and made some picks and let the authors know. Hey, we're accepting your story. Is it still available? So that was another layer of email to make sure, since it's been a year and a lot of people don't go and withdraw something they published already or don't want published. So I just make sure that is it still available. And I got 26 replies back. Yes, it's still available. And so that's about 26%, a little less than 26% selection rate. But then, so once the contract goes out and comes back signed, then Lisa will make an annotation and submittable. The contract is signed, and those are the ones I'll start editing as they come back and get in. And I'll edit the stories over into and put them over into a manuscript. I'll edit the stories one at a time, of course, with the author. And then when the author is satisfied, I'm satisfied, then we'll put it in the manuscript. And when all 26 or 30 make it into the manuscript, we'll get a third person bio from each author, and then it'll go to production, and production will format it and make sure it's how it looks on the page is right, the space and a half. And then one last time for not a necessarily a gallery review, but just one more time to say, do you see any mistakes that we can catch now? Is there anything you don't like? It's not a rewrite. It's capital, make this a capital letter and then add a period or a comma here. And we can do those little tweaks. And then it goes to the printer. And there's a cover design phase in there as well. But then it goes, and with Anthology 8, the timeline is probably May 2025 because 7 is coming out in May 2024. Although some of that was a change in distributor that slowed us down. Some of it was just volume that slowed us down. Some was pulling in Rise Volume 1 last year. I had them both last year, so it slowed us down a little bit too. So it may pick back up and be an actual year instead of that 15 months that Anthology 7 turned into. But I mentioned it last week. The Anthology 7 being pushed back from October to May was for some good reasons. The reasons we wouldn't want to change, because it was volume that we were turning out, and as a small press, reaching capacity and surpassing, finding more capacity. But that's basically what we're looking at. So Brittany, you're there, and Caroline's in there, and everybody else should have. If it's still in progress, it's because it's a maybe that we'll see. If I have room for the other 4 stories, I'll make that happen.
Cool.
Should have heard from him.
Cool. Awesome. Sounds good. And honestly, it's a very similar process for novellas. My only annotation is that when I'm going through the novellas for to potentially accept them, once they're accepted and we've got a signed contract and everything, I usually will set up like what I call a kickoff, where I meet with all the authors and kind of walk them through the process that Ben just described. And then I actually recommend all the authors to kind of get together and for you guys to hang out and, really befriend one another, because, when the publication time comes, honestly, some of the best signings we've had have been for the anthologies, because we get a bunch of the authors together for like a book signing or a book reading. And, the camaraderie is fantastic, right? Like you've just made friends for life. And B, it's also just fun to get your friends and family and, whoever else from the neighborhood who may want to come out to come and check out your story and all your fellow writers. So I think it can be like an amazing experience. So yeah. All right, we've got 6 minutes, folks. 6 whole minutes. Go ahead. Again, feel free to just pop your questions into the comments section, and we are happy to answer them. And Brittany says, thank you for the explanation, Ben. I am grateful and thrilled. Brittany, he is a blast to work with. I know you will have an absolute fantastic time. So cool. And Peter, where are you with your novel, young man? Because you still owe me a novel.
I do. I'm juggling, so I've got space. I got time before the first author gets back to me, and I'm working on the second one. But I'm still working on it. Still making progress.
Okay.
I think about it every day. Every day, I'm like, Lisa's she's gonna say something. She's gonna bring it up on the call.
You know, I will.
Every week. So like, damn it.
That's okay. I harass Ben too. Like, so you're not. At least you know you're not alone.
I'm in good company.
Story's coming.
Yeah.
I showed you this much of writing.
There you go.
That's it.
I'm sorry, Ben. I interrupted you. What were you going to say?
Oh! It's good to see from anthology to anthology return authors to come back and submit and not that that's a given that they'll be accepted, but usually their quality of writing and their storytelling is what got them in the first place. We get them in the second time, so it's good to see, and it's a growing family.
One thing I like about editing an author more than once is because you can see them grow, see them learn off what you showed them in the first novel. They carry over the novella, carry over the second one, and the third one it gets even easier or less stuff to point out because they picked it up, they've gotten it so far. And then you go way back to the starting point with a brand new author, you're like, oh boy, I gotta start all over again. So, but that's half the fun.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, and honestly, it's incredibly gratifying when we've got authors who keep coming back, and just because it's like, wow, they had such a great experience that they, because especially as someone learns and grows, and they're, the more that they write, they could go anywhere, in my opinion, so for them to keep coming back, and oftentimes they'll ask for the same editor, which I totally get that too, it's awesome. It's fantastic. Definitely a growing family. All right, we've got 3 whole minutes. I don't know if Ben or Peter, if you've got anything you want to talk about or.
Got Mission 123 in the journal I held up. I'll hold it up again.
Oh, yeah.
The confetti. Remember the confetti that came out?
Well, I have a couple things coming out, but not until next year, and I don't actually know the publication dates yet. So once I have them, though, I think they're next year. I think, one is next year. I'm not sure about the other one, but yeah. As soon as I have that information, I'll be happy to share.
When's Family Pack?
That one, I don't know. It just got submitted, or it's still with the formatter, and I think we're getting a final cover shortly. So, Cool. All right. Well, unless anyone else has any other questions, I'm just going to thank everybody. I want to thank Brittany. I want to thank Margaret. I want to thank Caroline. I want to thank Teja. You guys are absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us live. And I obviously want to thank Ben and Peter for not only being here, but putting up with my shit, because I'm good with it. As my husband says, man, you're stinky. So, take that however you want. Because it definitely has multiple meanings. Just put that out there. So, all right. With that,
Margaret left us a last minute question.
Huh?
Margaret left a last minute question. The last question of the day. How many books anticipated for 2024?
Oh, that's a great question. Hold on one sec. Let me look it up.
I want to say 26.
Oh, this is weird. For 2024. Sorry, the format changed in my OneDrive, which is why I said, oh, that's weird. Okay, for 2024, we've got a lot. 1, 2, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. We have 22 from Running Wild, although one of them's a kind of a maybe because it's been worked on for quite a while. And for Rise, we have 1, 2.
Is that mine? It's mine, isn't it?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, we'll get there. That's 2025.
We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. We have 17 for Rise for 2024. So, yeah. Wow. Oh my God. We did a lot. Oh, we did a lot. Anyway, so with that, we're over time. But thanks, guys. Greatly appreciated as always. We will see you next week. Bye.